In case you missed it, Vice President Kamala Harris sat down to do an interview with Call Her Daddy over the weekend, which is probably the most popular podcast amongst young people and amongst a lot of not political young people. And of course, the media gave her a lot of grief saying she was avoiding them and doing easy interviews like this one, which in my opinion could not be further from the truth. Just legacy media having a tantrum because people and campaigns have realized that legacy media doesn't actually reach real people anymore. And the vice president herself on the show actually got into why she appeared on the show and what it meant to her, which I think is the best articulation of the vice president's really personal, really real media strategy. Take a look.
I think you and your listeners have really got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people is to be real, and to talk about the things that people really care about. I mean, what I love about what you do is that your voice in your show is really about your listeners. And I think especially now, this is a moment in the country and in life where people really want to know they're seen and heard and that they're part of a community.
Okay, two big things to unpack here. The first, like the vice president said, she could go on and do another CNN interview or CBS interview, which, let's be clear, she has done. Or she can go on a show like this, which has millions and millions of listeners, many of whom are young people who probably feel ignored or left behind in politics. By talking with Alex Cooper, she can really talk to them super honestly. Exactly like she said, make them feel seen and heard. So legacy media can keep on complaining. I think this is an absolutely brilliant campaign strategy and just a really authentic one that is super refreshing to see from a politician. And two, obviously this is just a tiny little snippet, and they also talked about her work as a prosecutor and obviously talked a lot about ABORTION. Alex Cooper, the host, also asked her how it made her feel when people criticized her for not having biological children of her own. And I'll just say that as a young woman voter, it was so cathartic and also really felt like no other interview that I have seen. Like, they got into the nitty-gritty where the vice president described what a young person who needs an ABORTION has to do if they have to leave their state. Like, they have to pay to go on a plane and be scared and be alone. And if they have kids, they need to find childcare. It was just so personal and so real. It made me feel seen, and I think it made millions of other young people feel seen. And honestly, the whole thing's about 45 minutes. If you have the time, I would highly recommend giving it a listen.